All right, so happy August. In this video, I want to provide a brand new update to the ChatGPT snapshot that I've released that you may have either built following my video or you purchased from me. And what we're going to be doing is fixing this error. So the way that this system works is basically ChatGPT responds to your leads on autopilot. And one of the biggest problems of the current version is that once a lead gets a response, which basically is over here, the lead is put into a waiting queue. And this waiting queue waits for the lead to respond. And if the lead does not respond, the workflow times out after 1 day, and then it goes to this webhook, which re-triggers the zap, which re-triggers a conversation, which re-triggers the message to be sent in GoHighLevel. And so one of the errors is that when a user does not respond, right, if you don't have a value here in this user message, the zap does not function, which means the bot does not follow up with the leads. So I fixed it, and I'm going to show you demonstrate the error. So I'm going to reproduce the error so you know what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to show you, some notes here that you'll need to note, and then what I've updated and changed. So this is important as well because a lot of people that purchased it or message me in the community, don't really clearly understand the problem. And that could be in a variety of parts of setting up the system or whatever it may be. So this is just something that came to me, which is if you cannot systematically reproduce an error, you don't clearly understand the problem. And that applies to success as well. If you can't systematically reproduce success, you don't clearly understand what it is that you're doing. So I wanted to note that because I want to show you exactly why this error fires, how it works, and then how I fixed it, because hopefully from the channel, not only am I showing you how to do these things, but also how to solve problems and how to think about solving problems. That way you can fix anything you ever build or whatever it is. So with that being said, let's start with step one, which is to start the actual bot. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have two sub accounts open. This sub account will be where the GPT messages get sent from, and then this sub account will be where the GPT messages get received from, aka, this is where the lead is going to respond. So let's take this step by step. So what I'm going to do is go over here to the test lead. There's no conversation history, and I am just going to add this lead to the the start bot. So I'm going to click add, and what this is going to do is just send a simple hi message to this lead. So if we go over here and we check out, this contact, then this is a previous message from before, but you can see it says hi, right? So I'm going to say hello, and I'm going to go back to my documentation. So I just responded back as a lead. And so now what we're doing is we're waiting for a response from GPT in this account. So there's going to be a response here in just a few seconds. There it is. So this is a generalized prompt. So, don't really pay attention to this too much right here. What I'm showing you is the function and the technicality for, fixing this follow-up message. So basically, everything works well so far, right? We can start the bot, we can respond back as the actual lead, and then we've now waited for a response from ChatGPT, which was successful. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to reproduce this error. So if we go to automations within the account that has the ChatGPT system inside of it, if we go to V1, right, this is basically where this lead is. So you can see this lead is right here in the wait queue. And this isn't quite where the problem is. The problem is in this next step right here. So what's going to happen is, let's say you sent a text message to the lead, right, from ChatGPT. That worked successfully. That's this message right here. So that worked successfully. That's why the lead is now here in this wait queue. And this wait queue is waiting for the contact to reply. So if in real life, right, you're using this for your clients or your own business, what's going to happen if this lead does not respond after 1 day, the lead will go to this next step, and this next step goes to the webhook, okay? And that webhook, right, triggers the catch hook over here in the zap. This sends the message to ChatGPT, and then it updates the contact custom field in lead connector, which is high level. And then basically when that contact gets updated, it sends the message and the cycle continues. So this would create, ideally, if it works, an infinite loop of follow-up messages by ChatGPT. That way you don't have to actually write out any sort of templated SMS or email messages. I still recommend doing that, but this is the idea, is that, at some point, ChatGPT is fully having the conversation with your leads at all points in time. Okay, we're not quite there yet, but with this fix, this basically allows this loop to never end. And I'll show you, I'll reproduce the error now. So basically what's going to happen, let me make sure my email's clear. Okay, so you see that basically I have no new mail, so there's nothing here. And so what's going to happen if I'm successfully reproducing the error is if I move this lead to the next step, right, which is basically simulating that after 1 day this lead no longer responds, I want to re-trigger the webhook. So if I push this lead through, I should see an email in my an email should pop up in the next few seconds, and it should show that error, which is the user message is blank, and there it is. So if we go right here, we're going to see user message body is blank. Can't click here. Hold on. There we go. So required field user message is missing. So if we go to the Zap and we look at the Zap history, we're going to see the same stop error right there as well. And we can diagnose it exactly the same way. So the webhook was in fact triggered, right? So the contact is still here, by the way. It just went all the way, it looped all the way around. So if we go over here, the contact is no longer there, right? Because we pushed them to the next step and then we sent the webhook. The webhook was caught, right? Which is over here, like this worked, but this didn't work, right? And the reason it didn't work is because the lead didn't actually respond, okay? And so in the Zap, you'll see that the user message, which is the lead's response, is pulling from the message body within HighLevel. And so what happens is it will pull message 1, right? But if the lead, in fact, does not respond when this webhook gets, triggered again, there's no new message that was sent by the lead, and thus there's an error because it can't pull the previous response, okay? So that's the error. So we started the bot, we responded back as the lead, okay, which was this right here, and then we waited for the response from ChatGPT, which was right here, and then we moved the lead to the next step in the workflow without responding. So that was why when I had the lead here, I pushed the lead through to simulate what would happen after 1 day, and then that triggered the webhook. Okay, so I moved the lead to the next step in the workflow without responding, and then I demonstrated that there was an error, right, showing that the user body is blank, right, it's missing. And so this is basically what happens as a result of this. Follow-up messages do not get sent. So if the lead does not respond, the Zap doesn't work because that follow-up message doesn't get sent. Then, oops, there's a little error here. Okay, so then what could also happen too is if we look at the trigger of how this system works, when the contact gets changed, right? So when a certain custom field gets changed, then it basically sends the text. And so what could also happen is when ChatGPT generates a response, that response doesn't actually change, and therefore it doesn't actually send the follow-up message. So I had to make an adjustment to the prompt as well, and you'll see how this all works, as I go through it. And so we had to update the prompt to never send the same message twice. And then you basically need to, test this and make sure that this works, right? So this is like reproducing the error, right? This is the error, how to reproduce it. This is kind of what happens as a result of the error. And these are other potential things this is another potential thing that can happen. And then this is part of what I had to do. So now let me demonstrate how I've fixed this. So the first thing I did was I created a custom field for the lead's last response. Okay, so for the last response from the lead. So let me show you that. So I'm going to walk you through each of these baby steps, and then I'll demonstrate how the problem is now fixed. So I'm going to turn this off because this is the version, it's not version 1, but for this example, version 1. So we'll turn this one on so we can demo it in a second. But what I did, this actually is deleted now. I was testing which one worked better. So what I did here was you'll see that the other previous version just went straight to a webhook. So what I've done now is when a customer replies, the customer goes over here. And so when we update this contact field, what I've done is I clear this field value, which I created, right? That way this field gets cleared, and this is where the response is going to get stored from the lead. And then from here, I've updated it to now be what that message is from the lead. And then from here, I've added in this custom field in the webhook so that, this Zap can basically pull this data. That way, if the lead doesn't respond, that value never gets changed because it only updates when the lead does in fact respond, because this go-to step goes directly to the webhook. The go-to step doesn't go to the update contact field, which would basically create the same problem that was there previously. So that is what the first thing I did was I created those custom fields, right? And I basically cleared it and then created a new custom field so that it updates the message body. And then I added in the webhook. So that now pulls data from there. So that's all I've done here. And then there's a few things you have to do in the actual Zap. So yeah, so I added those 2 steps, clear the GPT message. I updated the GPT lead last message, and then I sent the GPT lead last response data to the webhook. And then I also have to, what you also have to do is map this field right here to step 2 of Zap user message. So you'll see how that works. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to simulate, the same exact scenario, but with it set up properly, or with this new version. So version 2 is now on. So if I go here to this contact, I'm just going to delete this contact. That way it just starts from fresh. So I'll refresh, and basically this lead will no longer be here. So I'm going to go here, just do testing. I'll just do seller lead. That way you can tell it's a lead. Okay, so now what we're going to do is the same exact thing. So we deleted the contact. Now we're going to start the bot. So let me also delete this contact here. That way it's just a fresh conversation. Okay, so same thing. Here is the seller lead. So I'm going to go to opportunity, or excuse me, I'm going to go to campaign, and we are going to start the bot. And now the old version is turned off and the new one is on. So it's going to send the same message. Okay, so start the bot. Now let's respond back as the lead. So we're going to say right here. So this is it. Not sure why that didn't get deleted, but let me see here. Yeah, that's a GoHighLevel bug. But okay, so there's the new message. So I'm going to say hello. So remember, this step already worked, right? So when we send this message, we're going to get a message back from ChatGPT within the next few seconds, and that step was already working. So what's going to happen is I'll wait for this response. There you go. You can ignore the prompt. This is customizable. But now what we're going to see is that the lead is in that wait queue again, right? And this is where the problem was that when we push this lead here, it produced this error, right? And the way we can verify that there is no longer an error is that we should see another message get sent by ChatGPT that is not the same as the previous message. And we should be able to send, basically unlimited messages without error. And that basically would be simulating the follow-up process that the lead is going through. We're just accelerating it by pushing the lead manually through this timeout condition. That way, we can just simulate that this thing actually works. So waited for a response in ChatGPT, so we got that. We already were able to get that from the original one, okay? But where there was an error was when this contact was in the wait queue, which I just showed you, and we pushed this lead over, that triggered the email, and that triggered the error in the actual Zap as well. This is what happened here. So if I fix this properly, what should happen is I should be able to move the contact, right, to the next step, and I should be able to demonstrate that the next message has been, in fact, sent to the lead. And that should happen as many times as possible. So I'll repeat steps 10 to 12, right? Or excuse me, 10 to, I guess technically it's steps 10 to 12. I'll repeat that 5 times, and we should see 5 different variations of follow-up messages from ChatGPT without any error, right? And the messages wouldn't send if there was, in fact, an error. So let's do it. So I'm going to go here, and I am going to move this contact to the next step, okay? And when I do that, that's going to trigger this webhook, which will trigger, basically the flow again. And all I need to do is change this message body to the new webhook, and it's going to work. So when I come over here to action, this old message body is going to get deleted, and now we are going to look for GPT lead last response, okay? And as long as the webhook gets pulled from that lead and there's a value there, right? When you first turn this thing on, everything's going to work. So we'll just go to skip this test for now since we're going to demo it live. and then I can, yeah, just publish this here. And so what I'm looking for here is I want to verify that if there isn't a response yet here, see, so there's no, this field hasn't been updated yet, right? So what I'm going to do is if I just say, hey there again, testing 1, 2, 3, what should happen is this, if I clear this lead now, because I had to update this, you know, I had to update that field, I'm going to delete this lead from here. So we'll see right here. So let's see if this updated. Okay. So this didn't update. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to restart this flow, because that, if that field isn't updated, it's not going to send in the webhook, right? So I'm going to go here. I'll paste this number here. So testing seller lead 2. And then from here, we will start the bot. So we'll click on start bot. That's going to send hello. It's obviously going to, you know, be in the same thread. Hey, what's going on? Boom, that'll get sent. And then what we should see now is this message should be in this custom field up here. So if we go over here and refresh this, this should be here. And if it's not here, since I like showing you guys, you know, this is what happens when you're creating this stuff, we just need to repull this webhook to get a new value here to make sure it's updated. So if we pull this new record, we should have a new record. And we are just looking for, it's probably, let's see, we're just looking for this message in this GPT lead last response. So GPT lead last response. We just want to make sure that there's an actual value. So let's see here, GPT lead last response, nothing. GPT lead last response, nothing here. Sometimes the zap actually goes out of order too. So what we should be able to do though is, since it does clear it, we should be able to publish this and simulate it the same way. So if I say the reason it didn't respond is because that zap was turned off. So if I say hello, this should trigger the response, right? And if this, you know, worked successfully, then what should happen is this field should get updated. So let's see if we refresh this. There it is. So there's the hello. So this will now work successfully. So what we should see is here in ChatGPT, this, you know, this person is in the queue now. So everything's running. So when I push this through, I'm going to get a response, a follow-up message, and there will be no error. And I should be able to do it multiple times. So I should get a follow-up message right here with no triggered email. And that should only take, you know, a second. Boom. So there's another follow-up message. And boom, if I refresh this, the person's going to be right back in the queue again. So this was how it was originally supposed to function. But so now if we move the lead again, we should see the actual follow-up message again. And I'll just do it, you know, a few more times, and then that'll be the video. So boom, there it is again. If I refresh, the lead is still in this wait queue because everything's functioning properly. So it just keeps looping back around, looping back around. So another message will get sent right now. Boom, there it is. And then I'll do it one more time just for good measure. And that will have fixed the problem. So boom, boom. It's going to send one more. Or was that it? I can't remember how many. Oh, there it is. Yeah, boom. So that is basically accelerating what would happen if the lead didn't in fact respond, right? Based on this timeout message. So that's basically what I updated, and it all just came down to, you know, recreating a custom field to store those messages. And so basically what you'll see, how this thing works, if I go into this lead on the system that has ChatGPT installed in it, we're going to see that hello value, right? And so what happens in the Zap is, if we look at the history, you'll see those before these 5 messages, these were the errors, and now it's working. And the reason that it's working is because if we look at the error, you're going to see that user message body is blank, right? User message is missing. And now if that lead doesn't respond, any one of these new, you know, fixed webhooks, you're going to see it responds because it's pulling this field regardless, right? And so the only time that field actually changes is when there's a real response. So that's how this works. If you purchase this from me, you will get the update for free. just message me on School over here. Or wait, School. Yeah, you can message me here on School. Join our free community and I'll get you the update. And then you can join this group either way. It's totally free. And yeah, if you want to, like if you built this yourself, I showed you everything that you need to do to basically update your own version. So, you know, like I said, that would just really include, well, let me, before I make any error, it's all right here. So you can just screenshot this and this is all that you need, right? So that's the video. All right, peace.